Welcome, folks. It is Monday, which means it's time for Monday Night Nerd. And we got a couple guests tonight. We've got JS and Heath Ledger's Joker here from Geeks Co. Messiah Complex Cosplay and JS. Folks, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
We were just talking before, when you dropped out. We were admiring your logo, which we can't see right now because it's behind Jeff's face, but you got a pretty nice logo. Your intro, man. I know we say it every time we're on. Well, every time we're on. It's the second time we're on, but I like your intro, man. That's pretty cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's good old Canva. It works works pretty well for stuff like this.
I just want to say also, as you guys can probably see, Mr. Michael Myers over here. Now as guests on this show. We were not the first guests on this show.
No. We sure weren't.
Michael?
We sure weren't.
I wasn't on your podcast first.
Two-timers, aren't we?
You are. You are two-timers.
You are
two-timers.
Woo!
You are two-timers. And in a month, we will have another guest who will be a two-timer.
Oh, yeah?
We have a really fun episode coming up. I don't want to spoil it yet, but we got it in the can already because I'm going away on holiday and I need some stuff to show you guys while I'm away. So it's not a top 10, but it's a best of, and we're going to have, it's really fun. We had a lot of fun.
Nice.
I know what that is.
Those are always the best, right? Like we try to do as many of those as we can, best of episodes, whether there are UCFs or, like we did our Geekies last week or our top 10 lists or whatever it is, right? They're so fun. I mean, we love talking about nerdy shit, right? So,
of course. And folks, if you haven't subscribed to their channel, Geeks Co on YouTube, they had the Geekies last week, their award show for all things 2023 geeky. If you want to see a person have a mental breakdown over a movie, that's the guy.
Talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't sound like me at all. And a
mental breakdown for actually a pretty good movie, but I understand the frustration.
Which movie did I have a mental breakdown on? I'm sure there were several.
There were several. Let's be honest.
There was one that was mentioned several times in the night, and it just got progressively funnier and funnier. Every time it won.
I wear my heart on my sleeve. What do you want me to tell you? This is just how it is. This is what you get.
Fair enough. Yep. It was a great episode. Folks, Geeks Co on YouTube, Geeks Co on every social media. Make sure to subscribe to their stuff. They've always got great stuff every single week. Thursday nights, 7 p.m. We got some news to jump in. Oh, Jess?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Aka over here is in full makeup.
Yes.
As everybody can see. A little bit of a preview for Friday at Toronto Comic-Con.
Yes.
Does that work for you, Jeff?
It does. Yeah. Toronto Comic-Con. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for not just saying Comic-Con and assuming everybody knows what the fuck you're talking about. I decided I was going to do Ledger Joker for Friday like a moron. And I realized after I said I was going to do that and I posted that I was going to do that I had never done the makeup myself, not for Lido or Leisure, and I've done both a couple of times anyway. So I've been playing around all week with stuff. I went out to a costume place here in town and I bought a bunch of stuff and just and then looking at YouTube videos and just trying to figure out how to actually make this work. And I'm close to where I want to be at this point. I'm pretty happy with there's a couple little things I want to tweak, but I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. And hopefully I'm going to see every one of you in your best DC cosplays on Friday. Mm-hmm. If you want to come and knee Joker in the balls because you're Batman, you can do that. You have my permission. I'll make sure I have my cup on for that.
I was just going to say, make sure you're wearing your cup.
We'll move forward. Realism. It's all about the realism, kid. We suffer for the art. So otherwise, you guys already know by now, we're going to have a booth on the main floor up in the upper right corner. We're going to be right kitty corner across from the Doctor Who Society. So make sure you're coming out and joining us. Even if you're not following along with the theme, please still come to the booth and hang out. Mm-hmm. I know there's going to be people doing their own thing because we got there a little bit late because we never know if we're going to be there or not because they don't tell us until the last minute. So, but we know now, DC Friday, villains and bad guys on Saturday, Star Wars on Sunday. Be there and be square. Come get some pictures. And then there's There's an after party of some kind I keep hearing about. What's that about?
Yeah, we're all going to be getting together. We're going to the Pint House, basically attached to the MTCC. I keep saying basically, but it is attached to the MTCC, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you still have to like go out and go in. Like you can't. Yeah.
Far west side of the MTCC. I think it's where the old Hard Rock used to be. I believe.
If you're coming out of the north building, head towards Ripley's, and you'll
Correct.
That's where you're going to find it. Yeah.
And we're gonna be getting together. We're gonna have some drinks. We're gonna have some food. You can come in cosplay. You don't have to come in cosplay. Just come and join us. You know, relax. The con is con weekend, right? It's our first con of the year. It's con season. Woo-hoo! I cannot wait. I'm so excited for Toronto Comic Con, guys.
Here.
It
is going to be a great weekend. And yeah, after a long Saturday of being in costume, this is the way to end it.
Oh yeah.
Drinks and food with friends. Yeah. It's like you said, we're not clubbing.
No.
You know what I mean? It's more of a pub style atmosphere. So we're going to break bread together. We're going to drink a bunch of stuff together. We're going to have a good time. We're going to stagger home, and we're all going to wake up hungover as shit Sunday morning, ready to con one more day. So
no, that's okay. That's typical of Saturday.
That's what we're going to do. Yes. Not that we won't be drinking all day. Anyway, what? No,
but I think one of the key things is there's never any real good food at these cons, right? And the food that is there is usually super expensive and not very good, unless you go line up outside for the street meat, which lineups are usually friggin' dumb. Yeah. So a lot of people don't eat it all during the day. So this is going to be an opportunity after the con to go get a bite. We've got a bunch of tables or a whole section already reserved. My understanding is as of right now, the section that we have sits 35 people. A bunch more people will be able to stand. Now they have a whole other rest of the restaurant, but maybe we're doing a takeover of the Pint. What do you think? Should we take over the Pint on Saturday night?
I don't know how we won't.
Yeah.
Tell your friends, bring your kids, bring your wife, bring whatever you want to bring your pets. I don't care. Bring everybody. We're all going to be there. I'm probably just going to stay in my cosplay because why not? Just going to have fun. I'm going to be Omni-Man that day. It's easy to wear. So other than the mustache, which I had to buy, someone recommended I buy eyelash glue to get the mustache to stick to my face because spirit gum doesn't work. And someone said this stuff should work and work well.
Spirit gum doesn't work?
Spirit gum won't stick I can't get anything to stick on my face with spirit gum. It literally comes right. Yeah. I think I have pretty oily skin. So someone recommended, I think it was editor Megan actually recommended eyelash glue. So we're going to give that a shot. If that doesn't work, I'm just going to draw the son of a bitch on. I got to have a mustache. I can't Omni-Man without one. I'm not going to wear the mask again. So pro tip, guys, if it works, I'll let everybody know that it works. And if it doesn't, I'll let you know.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Holds eyelashes on. That's kind of... Gum on your face was probably a trick. Yeah.
It will be a very fun weekend. And Sunday, I got a feeling I'm going to see some cosplayers a little tired, a little slower, but that's what con is. Us volunteers, we have a tradition on Sunday. It's called Sunglasses Sunday. Everyone shows up and you're all wearing sunglasses because it was a long night on Saturday. Even if you don't drink, I don't drink, and even I show up in sunglasses because I know I was hanging with them having a fun time.
I mean, the Stormtrooper helmet that I'm going to be wearing, I'm pretty sure the lenses are shaded.
Yeah, we won't be able to see your face.
You're perfect.
I'm all
Same
good.
With my Revan helmet. You won't be able to see my face.
Not talking, just looking around, standing around, trying to look intimidating.
Yeah. Where's JS? I don't know.
Where's Jeff? He's sleep standing.
Yes, he's leaned up against that post there for the last 20 minutes, not moving. Did you guys get a fucking statue of a Stormtrooper? No, that's Jeff. He's hungover. Hello.
Have you tried that on yet? Oh, well, I guess you won't be able to till
Sunday,
right?
Until we get there. Although we traded some sort of measurements back and forth to make sure like my spider shoes are going to fit her and the boots are going to fit me and all that kind of jazz. And it looks like everything's going to line up. So the worst thing that will happen is I'll try on the Stormtrooper and it doesn't work. And I'll just have to be like, I don't know, like I won't have a spare Star Wars costume. So I'll probably have to wear the Spider-Man that I brought for her. That's not going to, you know what I mean? But based on everything, my feet are bigger. Yes, your feet are 1/4 of an inch longer than mine. She's been lording this over me the whole time. She's a half inch taller than I am. She has her feet are 1/4 inch bigger than mine, and she's acting like You and I are going to fight, miss. That's what's going to happen.
You don't want to like throw your Cobb Vanth in a bag, and I mean that seems like one that would be easy to bring as a backup. And
yeah, I could probably do that. I'll see if I've still got it all together somewhere, and yeah, I could probably do that just so I'd have something. I guess yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. I'm like, I'm not packing Obi-Wan the lightsaber and all that shit and Shinola, but yeah, Cobb Vanth's a lot easier to travel.
Yeah, but your robe. I mean, like, look, your robes are amazing, but Jesus Christ, man, that thing's like ginormous.
But without the robe, it's like nobody gives a shit. No, I mean, it's Obi-Wan. Nobody gives a shit anyway, but nobody really gives a shit without the robe.
All right, folks, we ready to get into a little bit of news before we jump into the topic? Because some stuff's happened in the past couple days. Let's start off with James Gunn. So James Gunn is heading up the DCEU reboot, whatever you want to call it now. He put out some interesting information on his Instagram yesterday. He will be shooting Peacemaker Season 2 and Superman simultaneously. So he wrote that, yes, I've written an episode, but no, in the interest of getting the show out there, I won't be able to direct all the episodes of Peacemaker. And yes, Waller will be happening, blah, 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 blah. We will be shooting them simultaneously. What's your thoughts on this? We're starting a brand new extended universe, which is going to encompass a whole bunch of properties of the DCU. Do we feel like the guy heading it up doing two things at once is kind of a little too much to kick things off?
Go ahead, Jazz.
I mean, the way I see it, he's trying to, a lot of people want to compare him to, Kevin Feige. He's the Kevin Feige of DC, but that's not really how I see it. No. To me, he's more the Jon Favreau of Star Wars, where sure, he's heading up a movie, but he's basically got his fingers in everything, right? I think at the point that we're at now, I think we realize that James Gunn, there's going to be a lot of people involved in these productions, but he's going to have his fingers on every little bit of detail that's going on. So for him to say, well, I'm also going to direct the first episode, let's say, if he's only directing the first episode, or if he does like Jon Favreau did with season 1 of Mando, where he directed the first episode and the last episode. I think it was the first and the last or something like that. I could see James Gunn doing something like that, right? If you're telling me that he's going to produce a movie, direct the movie, write the movie, all while doing that for a TV show at the same time, I don't know. I still have concerns overall about all of this. So, the whole new DCEU or whatever they're calling it right now, I'm hopeful, but I have a lot of concerns to begin with. So that's, to me, is just a drop in the bucket at this point.
I mean, there is second unit shooting, and I'm if he times it appropriately, like usually the second unit will have its own director. Not everybody is Chris Nolan that has to direct every single shot of a film. In fact, most films don't have that. Most films have an AD, an assistant director, that will do most of the second unit stuff. And the second unit stuff is usually not the main cast of characters. It's usually off-site stuff or whatever second unit's going to be shooting. He could step away at that point and go do some Peacemaker if he had to while the second unit was doing some stuff, or, if they have some post work they have to do or some VFX work they have to do, he may not have to like sit in the office and shepherd that the way, some other guys would. So is he taking on too much? Yeah, probably. I'm sure part of it is HBO Max and Warner and Discovery are probably screaming at him to get season 2 of Peacemaker done. That's not the weirdest part of this, him trying to do both of them at the same time. The weirdest part of this is him saying on Threads, responding to a person, Peacemaker season 2 will be canon. Peacemaker season 1 is not canon. What?
Why?
In the balls are you? So how is that going to work continuity wise with the show? Will the show be like a soft reboot? Will they cast a bunch of new people around him? Will they pick up storylines from the first season but act like it's I don't know. It's super, super weird. I don't know how that's
especially weird considering season 1 is his own product as well. So
right.
Why wouldn't you make it canon? Like there's going to be something specific that's going to happen that can't that can't be canon, right? So somebody's going to change or something's going to be different.
Yeah,
It has to be.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it's weird. You're right. That's weird AF.
I mean, if they pull some alternate universe shenanigans in the first like 5 minutes of the first episode of season 2. You know what? At least that will give me, like, if they just start season 2 and it's in a completely different continuity and we're all just supposed to get it, that's a really bad move to make. I know we're all sick of the multiverse, but I mean, at the end of the day, convince me. Why are you doing this? There's got to be a reason why you're rebooting the whole thing. So does that mean his wife, who's in everything? Because she said she's gearing up to shoot season 2. She's in season 1. Is she playing the same character that she played all the way back in The Suicide Squad? Is any of that going to be? Because, like, I don't know, man. It's such a fucking mess. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think this is where, I think we all as fans of comic book movies, we appreciate what Marvel did. We appreciate that you had a connected universe. But I think when you do something like this, and you go into it saying we're planning 15 movies, that's where the problem comes. Like, do one, and if it works, do a second, and then a third, and then try and figure out how to weave that together. Like, I think if Iron Man failed and we just had Fury at the end, we'd all go, oh, that was cool. Or if Thor ended and we go, oh, that was cool how they all kind of went together. But going like, no, we're going to go all in with 15 movies. And no, I love Marvel doing the big screen with, here's the next 3 years worth of stuff. Like, not everybody can do that. And I feel like we keep doing catch up. Like, let's just do 90s. Let's just do a Batman and then a Superman. And then, they all work together. Great.
Let's be honest. Most of Marvel's stuff has been shit lately anyway. Right?
Well,
they're having a hard time staying on top of their own stuff. And to be fair, this is what did DC in the first place, right? They saw what Marvel was doing and they wanted to do the same thing. And instead of starting with, let's each have their own movies and then slowly build to the Avengers. No, they wanted to slap us right into the middle of it. And it didn't work, right? They tried to plan before they knew if their product was actually going to pay the bills. You got to have a movie that pays the bills before you can start thinking about making 20 others, So I don't know, man. DC has been in rough shape lately when it comes to their live action movies. Even their animated stuff has been down the drain lately. So I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know if what's happening with the DC Comics side of things being sold over and over again now, if it's affecting this. But man, what a mess.
I don't know. But either way, we're going to get a bunch of new DC properties, and that's good. Hopefully, they're all going to be good. Hopefully, we get a good Superman. Hopefully, we get another Peacemaker. John Cena's in it. I don't see why it could be bad. I mean, he's amazing in pretty much everything he's done lately. Little bit of fun, little bit of news, and I'm just waiting for the impressions to start. Christopher Walken was getting interviewed about Dune 2. And he let out a little bit of, I don't know if it's a spoiler or whatever you want to call it. He admitted that he auditioned for Han Solo when Star Wars was casting with Jodie Foster in the room doing the other half, which I assume was the Leia role.
It was.
Who wants to do the Walken impression of what he would sound like as Han Solo?
First of all, I don't know that we would even call it a spoiler because everybody's been very upfront about the fact that about 500 people auditioned for Han Solo.
True.
Like everybody that was a name actor at the time auditioned for Han Solo. Jodie Foster was 13 years old when she auditioned for Princess Leia.
Wow.
Yeah, 13. They were obviously looking to go a younger route, and they ended up obviously going with Carrie Fisher. But I mean, come on, man. It's a great little throwaway. In fact, he didn't say it. She did.
Yeah.
She was on a talk show, and she mentioned that she had auditioned with Chris Walken as Han Solo. And yeah, man, like, I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to have? There's no role that wouldn't be made better with Christopher Walken doing the role. Let's be fair. It would just be dynamite.
I gotta admit,
Is that all we're gonna get? That's the only impression you're gonna give us.
Monkey? I just gotta be
earlier. You did like 3 full lines, and now you're gonna give us one word.
Hyperspace. So weird. You put it in the computer, and boom.
let's be honest. We all love the classic lines, but just envision him and Kylo Ren in that last scene. Just the heartfelt speech from Walken. I'm just
Son,
like, I can't take it seriously.
Let me tell you.
Ow! You stabbed me.
Right through the heart. Just like a good boy you are.
There is some guy online right now just ripping every movie going, I'm putting this into an AI generation.
You know what would be cool? I actually have a couple of Han Solo pieces. I should do the Christopher Walken version of Han Solo as a cosplay. Just walk around and just spit lines
That'd be
as
hilarious.
Chris Walken and Han Solo. People are going to look at me like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you don't know.
I approve.
Yep, me too.
Yes.
Me too.
Where do we vote for this?
What do we? I got the belt. I got a couple other things. The pants and the boots are the key. That's the hard ones to.
Yeah, the blue pants with the stripe.
Yeah, and then the high black boots that are like tight fitting and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, but watch out.
The place where we got our Star Trek boots, I forget what they're called now. They also have Han Solo boots. They have the Kylo Ren boots. Like
wow.
they have a bunch of, like, they're pretty good. You should, if that's something that you're actually interested in.
Maybe. Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. There.
At least a monster. You're gonna do the rest of the podcast like that, aren't you?
No. My walk-in's not good enough that I could just sit here and talk like Christopher Walken. You're just gonna get the occasional wow.
Folks, we're going to do a drinking game tonight. Anytime he drops into Walken, take a drink.
Anytime, hey, you brought it up, brother. Like,
I did.
This is 100 on you.
That's
100%.
true.
In fact, I was
My
willing to let
drink's
it
not going to
go,
make it until the end of
but
the
this
podcast.
one down here was like, oh, you were not going to give us any of the Walken? I was willing to let it go, and here we are.
Here's the ball. Knocking it out.
Yeah.
All right, and the last little bit of news. If you watched the Oscars last night, there were many highlights. If you were an Oppenheimer fan, you're ecstatic. But if you're a nerd and a geek, Arnold and Danny DeVito came out on stage, and they had a nice little back and forth because, they're from Twins and not much else, except they're both villains in the DC universe. And we had a Bruce Wayne in the audience, and it was you couldn't have played it any better. If I can't obviously show the clip on here because I'll get taken down off YouTube, but check it out by JS. It was one of the funniest moments of the Oscars in a while. I don't know where JS went.
I don't know where he went either, but
he'll be back, and he's probably watching it now. I said watch it later, JS.
Yes. Yeah.
Do we need that movie? Do we need Arnold and Danny DeVito to reprise the Penguin and Freeze?
We super do not. There's people that people will tell you that Returns is their favorite Batman film.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but on rewatch, I remember when it first came out, I loved it, and then on rewatch, I'm like, this is not my favorite. No. There's a lot of things about this I'm not really digging. Yeah. And each subsequent rewatch, there's more things I don't dig about it. I'm not shitting on Batman Returns. It's still a great flick, but it has not aged well in my mind anyways, but I think you'd have to drag either one of them kicking and screaming into any kind of a role at that point now. They're too old, man. They're not, DeVito could probably pull it off, but what would be the point? Like if you had some weird multiverse thing where you could have them step in for a really quick cameo, I'd be good with that. But they tried that in The Flash, and we saw how that worked out. So,
have him in the tornado.
Right? Like we even got a Clooney Batman cameo. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen The Flash. So yeah, it would have been an opportunity for Arnie to make the same cameo, come in and hit one of the, the terrible lines or whatever. It won't let me join back in like earlier.
Good old technical difficulties. Give me 1 second, folks. I don't know. I think DC would love to do more with Keaton, but I just
the Flash.
There he is.
Tough, right? After the bomb of the Flash, I think it'd be pretty tough to bring Keaton back. Even though I don't think anybody was complaining about Keaton in the Flash, I think it'd be tough to do anything with him at this point. If they're adamant about not doing a Batman Beyond movie, and it looks like they are adamant about not doing a Batman Beyond movie. I don't know what place you'd have for Keaton. You're not going to have it a 72-year-old Batman, right? You just can't do it. So
fair enough.
We'll see what happens. Speaking of the Batman Beyond, did you guys see the concept art that came out for the proposed Batman Beyond animated film?
No.
Oh my fucking god!
Think so.
It looks gorgeous. It's clearly done in the style of the Spider-Verse films.
Oh.
And they had gone in for the pitch, and going in for the pitch, even the producer, everybody was like, "This isn't happening." And then they put down the mats showing what the concept art for it, and they were like, "Oh, well,
that's
maybe
beautiful.
this might happen." So it's not like completely dead. The pitch was pretty successful in getting the concept and the idea in their heads that this is something they could do as an animated feature, a la Into the Spider-Verse. But it's gorgeous. It looks like exactly what you want it to look like if it's going to be an animated feature. So
yeah, I like that. It looks like a mix of the Spider-Verse style and the classic. Yeah, look at that. That looks
that's not even there. There's a couple of other shots too that are there's more than just that shot. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, there's the other two shots as well. And yeah, it just looks, it's just gorgeous. Like that shot in particular, that upper one is
that's beautiful.
That upper right one. Yeah, that's a great shot too. But the
logo
shots
or the logo's
alleyway. Good. No, the alleyway shot is very across the Spider-Verse. It looks just like that. And it looks dope as hell.
I don't understand why they don't do more with this character, because for me anyway, in the whole Bat family, he's the best thing next to Batman, right? Like, sure, all the Robins are cool, and Nightwing and Red Hood and Batwoman and Batgirl, and now Batwing and freaking Batdog and Batcat, and all the friggin' bats. This guy's wicked. Like, he's actually Batman. That's it. And if they actually did this as a movie, you could technically bring Keaton in, because he's at a point where he could play that character, right? He's old enough now that he could play that character, and it would be believable, and it would still bring in that continuity with the old school. You know what I mean? So not only are you capturing the imagination of all the younger kids with a brand new Batman that's set in the future, but you're bringing all the old folks like us back to see our old Batman in Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
So I
think, and I heard Neil Adams talk about this when he was I think it was a couple of years after Green Lantern, and he was talking about how he was talking to a bunch of people at DC when they were getting the concept of Green Lantern, and he said, "Great, I can't wait to see Jon Stewart." And they all went, "Oh no, we're doing Hal Jordan." And he went, "But Jon Stewart's the Green Lantern on the TV show." And they went, "Yeah, but Hal Jordan's in the comics." And they went, "Yeah." And Neil went, "Yeah, but you're selling X thousand of comics and you have X million kids watching the TV show. Why are you not going that way?" Well, if he's the legacy character, he's the one everyone knows. He's just like, okay, like whatever. Why not go with the kid? But whatever. So I think that might be the same issue. I think that that everyone looks at Batman and goes, Batman Beyond. No one knows what that is, when really everyone knows what that is at this point.
I think it's such a dramatically different take from the Batman that everybody already knows and is used to. I think the studio is worried about putting their foot out on something that different and still calling it Batman and worrying about audience confusion and people not getting it and not identifying with it or whatever, right? I mean, it literally takes place in the future. It's like a futuristic Batman too, right? So I can sort of see their arguments as far as muddying the water. We already have a Batman that's not part of the current continuity, which means when The Brave and the Bold comes out, we're going to get another Batman that is part of the continuity. Do we really need a third Batman that will also not be part of the I don't think, unless it was a one-off, unless they weren't planning on integrating it, or unless they weren't planning on a series of films. If they just had a one-off, that's all you get. It's an Elseworld story. This is what could happen in the future. Mm-hmm. Cool, man. I could live with that. But I don't want it. I don't want a third Batman running concurrently with the other two fuck all that, man. I don't want any of that. Yeah. So,
yep.
Anyways, didn't mean to derail us with the news there, but I realized I just seen that recently, and I know JS a big fan of Beyond, so I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. No, that is really cool.
So, yeah,
that is really cool, folks. We are almost half hour in, and we haven't even gotten to the main topic yet. We've been just covering all the
welcome
news.
To having Jeff and JS on your fucking podcast.
Hey, you know what? It's great. I have no problem deep diving. I just don't want to keep certain people up too late. because I know we got
it's me. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem.
The old man over here.
Sorry, man. I work at 4 a.m. I'm up at 2:30. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
I
man?
get it.
Saying that, but do you? Or are you just an old man?
Why don't you fuck off? How about both? Why can't it be both?
Yeah. I mean, it can. You're right.
It is. It is both.
Yeah.
It is. But I am not that early, and I am, in fact, an old man. So,
all right, let's get into the sponsor quickly, and then we're going to jump into the main event. Sponsor, if you're new here, the sponsor of this podcast, until someone gives me the money, and even if people do give me money, they'll still be second place. The sponsor is my wife. My wife, I love her. Honestly, if you knew me back in the day before all this, I was a completely different person. She has changed me so much for the better. I wouldn't be doing any of this without her. Hun, I love you. Thank you very much. You will always be my sponsor. Thank you.
Aw.
Hey, it's the truth. It really is. It really is.
Adorable.
Let's jump into the main event.
Hear this every week?
Yep, she hears it every single week.
Yeah, okay.
And she loves it.
Watches.
She watches. She watches. She'll never be on the show because she hates the spotlight, but she likes being the sponsor. All right, main event, folks. It is T-minus 4 days before Toronto Comic-Con. We are in con crunch. Sorry. Jesus. We are in con crunch time. If you are a cosplayer, we can tell how well Jeff is doing. JS, how is the con crunch going for yourself?
As a general rule of thumb, as a general, like how things are going, con crunch seems to get harder as I get older.
Okay.
I'm just lucky that for one, I've got somebody helping me out. Where most of you guys are doing it all on your own, I've got somebody at home actually giving me a hand. And we've been doing it over and over again for a couple years now. So we're pretty well organized. I just have a bad habit of taking on new builds at the last minute. And then I realize, oh shit, I didn't repair that. Oh shit, my audio is not working in this anymore. Oh crap, I got to do this. Oh no. So yeah, it's been a hectic couple weeks. I haven't even, he's telling us he's been playing around and testing his makeup for the last, week you said?
Yeah, at least.
I haven't even tried it yet. I'm doing that tomorrow. So I got to do my makeup tomorrow. Jen's going to do my makeup.
You had the white on, though. I saw you post with the white.
Well, I did the hair and the beard with some stuff that I bought, but it doesn't work very well. I'm going to have to use that spray that you did pick it up.
Yeah, I'll bring it. Right? I got to bring it for Omni-Man anyway, so I'll bring a spare can for you. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not to overlook you, Jeff. How is con crunch going for you?
It was going swimmingly until 11 days before the con, and the person that I had contracted to do the leather work for Carl Rupert Cronin from 2004's Hellboy had to back out. And with 11 days to go, it just wasn't enough time to get somebody else, especially somebody local, to start from scratch, to start doing the fitting, the saran wrap, the duct tape, all that jazz. The sad part about it is the entirety of the rest of the costume is ready to go. So the only thing I need is the leather work. I got in touch with our boy Sam Sino, who we've had on our podcast. He does leather work, so we've been trading some stuff back and forth. So Cronin will be coming out for Fan Expo for sure. And then I've got another big cosplay build I'm building for Fan Expo as well. For this one, it really has been just trying to figure out how to do the makeup myself. Because I'd never done it before on my own. I've always had somebody to help me with it. So I've been practicing. Having to be clean shaven sucks so bad. Not a fan. Don't enjoy. And then just the perils of getting to the con and remembering that on Sunday I'm not wearing my own costume. I'm wearing somebody else's costume entirely that I've never even looked at, let alone tried on. I have no idea how to put a TK Stormtrooper on at all. It's her kit. She's being generous enough to loan it to me. I am in turn loaning her a spider suit, which I think is a hell of a deal for me.
Yeah.
And so we're going to help each other on how to get into the respective costumes. But I'm just praying that everything fits well and that I can last. I'm told I can't sit down and I can't go to the bathroom in it. So that's going to be problematic for sure on both sides of the fence, because I'm sure there's going to be some sneak outs to steam whistle for a pint or two that usually involves having to pee. I will dress you in Sunday morning. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. Yes, I will.
Well,
have
he's
to
going to
be-
need the help.
Yes, there's no question. I'm going to need. I've seen guys put it on their own, but rarely.
Yeah, but it
Usually
looks
they
like a bit of a
need help.
sport to put it on your own. Like they have it all planned up ahead of time, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like
And
if you don't
I've
know what
never
you're
done
doing, you're not getting.
I haven't
along.
even. Yeah, I've done. By the way, I'm doing all this for this. I've done no homework on the TK. I haven't watched any videos on how to put it all together. Put it on nothing. I'm just going to rely on Christina. Come to my hotel room, help me put all this bullshit on, and then I don't know. Hopefully it all works out. So, are you? So obviously you're volunteering as well, Michael. Yes, but I'm assuming you're cosplaying in amongst. Oh, you're not volunteering at this one.
I don't volunteer at Expo.
Well, this is not Expo. This is Comic-Con.
Well, the Expo.
This is what?
Cosplays.
What is it?
Comic-Con.
I'm
this
sorry.
Is Toronto
I couldn't
Comic-Con.
hear you. What is it? What is
Toronto Comic-Con.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
No,
Michael.
I am not volunteering. It's a different group that runs their volunteering, and I'm kind of. I don't want to say I'm a rookie with them. They don't know me like the group that does Hamilton and Niagara. I'm just going on Sunday because I buy the premium pass for Fan Expo. That gets me one day next year at all the Fan Expo events. So Toronto Comic-Con, that's it. But I can only do Friday or Sunday. That's the limitation. Right. And Friday I got to work. So I will be there on Sunday, and I will be rocking Weird Al Yankovic, White and Nerdy, which I'm finally finished after fighting with lantern rings for 3 days. But yeah, I just wanted something easy. I could have done Court of Owls. I'm working on Hush, but I'm just like, I just want something easy. I was getting kind of close. That's that crunch time.
Good DC villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got I put the head in the other room. Yeah, I started on Hush, and I used the photo with him with the guns out, but then I realized I can't stand just wearing the trench coat the whole time. I'll need to do the inside with the H and all the red and all that plush stuff. So I just went, nah, that's a later problem. So sticking with comfy, sticking with Weird Al. I like music cosplays, so I'm gonna go with that one. But yeah, TCC will be a fun weekend. So we're talking about con crunching. Why are we talking about this? Well, we're within 4 days. Also, these folks and myself, we cosplay, we have a podcast, we have general things in life, like normal things, life, work, family, friends, etc. So I've had a couple new cosplayers talk to me about how do I handle all this? Because like you get home after a full day's worth of work and you got, I don't know, 5-6 hours before you got to go to bed, rinse and repeat. How do you do all this? So I thought it'd be great to talk to these two because I have trouble trying to prioritize and con crunch, especially the closer we get to a con. So I wanted to get their thoughts on how they do it because I only know the way I do it, and it's usually shut that door and don't talk to anybody. And I know that's not the healthy way to do it all the time. So before we go into it, let's break down the parameters. I think that's something that a lot of people don't see when they see cosplayers. They see what it looks like, what the end result is, but they don't know the work that went into it and what they have to deal with because everybody has their own things. Everybody's got family, kids, etc. Let's start with Jeff. Jeff, what are your parameters when it comes to you have a job, you have family, etc.? Let people know what you have so we can kind of figure out how much of your day is already booked before you think of even cosplay.
Well, the nice part about me compared to you guys, especially compared to someone like JS, is, and I just pre-recorded a podcast with our buddy Noah there, the Freakish Workshop. He's got his own podcast coming out called "So You Want to Be a Cosplayer." His are pre-recorded, so he's not going to be going live. But we did an episode based on buying costumes versus making costumes, and he brought me on as an expert in buying costumes. So I don't experience the same level of crunch that you guys do because my crunch is checking the shipping notification to make sure that it's going to be here in time, or something like this where I've already got it and it's just some minor tweaks that I've got to figure out to make it work. Or like we talked about, if I have something that derails because I've commissioned somebody and we can't get it done in time, just shifting to another costume that I already have that's already done. It's very rare for me to be in a position where I'm legitimately crunching, trying to get something built or made or ready in time. So for me, it's always like, hey, do I have enough snacks? Do I have booze? Is the hotel booked? Have I already paid buddy for the gas? And is parking set up? For me, it becomes more of a logistics thing. And that's just something I'm doing with the people that I'm working with, talking with JS and Rob and Jen and them about what we're doing with the booth, talking with Crazy Mike on how we're going to get there. It becomes more of a planning style of thing. Because for me, if I don't have all that sort of like in my head and ready to go, I'm going to be as stressed out as all hell. So thankfully, my kids are older. My kids are grown up, so they're not underfoot. I've got a granddaughter, but she's about an hour away, so I don't see her as often as I'd like. So a lot of the times when I get home from work, at before 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day. I've got a good chunk of the day that if I have to putter around or pack some things or drag out some cosplays to make sure they still fit, I can still do all that without having to worry about being down in a prop shop, sanding and filling and sanding and filling and painting endlessly over and over again. JS, you're just nodding there, and I can see like crunch for you and crunch for me are not the same crunch. What does your crunch look like?
I see my situation is very different than yours because where you leave early in the morning, I don't. I actually get up late every day because I work from home.
Mhm.
So, and I don't work till 9, so I don't really have to be up till like 8:30 every day. Which means that I'll often be building or painting or doing whatever till like middle of the night because when I'm building a new cosplay, I have to give myself a timeline. I have to give myself a deadline. If I don't give myself a deadline, it doesn't happen. I mean, it's that simple, right? Or I get into the dumb habit of wanting to start 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different things at the same time, and then none of them get completed because you've got too much stuff going on, right? I've got a whole shoulder cannon built or 3D printed for my Predator for like a year and a half, and I still haven't gotten to put it together, right? So that's the problem when you make stuff. You have a tendency of wanting to do a lot of things. So by giving yourself a deadline, it forces you to compact and get things done. We also have a reconstituted family. Is that what you call it? Like we're two separate family, right? Jen and her kids and me and my kids, although my kids are also older. My oldest doesn't live here anymore. And my youngest, well, she's 17 years old. So, I mean, they're self-sufficient. Jen's kids are a little bit younger, but we spend half our time here, half our time there. So I really only have half the time access to my prop shop and my tools, right? It's another thing I got to keep in mind when I'm starting a build like that. When I'm like right now, 4 days before the con, it's not just about finishing your cosplays. My cosplays have to be done because we have a booth at Comic-Con, right? Sorry, Toronto Comic-Con.
Thank you.
So, we've got all that stuff that we need to get ready, make sure we have everything. Anything new that we're doing has to be ordered and ready to go. Pack, trailer, parking passes, move-in passes, exhibitor passes. Listen, it's so much coordination and all sorts of stuff going on. I'm so lucky that Jen helps me out with all that stuff because
we wouldn't have a booth. We wouldn't have
no, we wouldn't be able to get it done. Listen, it's too much work. And I feel like when I say I want, and I don't know if I was saying this live on the air or if we were talking about that before the show. I want to eventually get to where my builds aren't necessarily my costumes anymore. My builds are more set pieces that people can enjoy and use and come and see. And, a little bit like the 501st does, right? They put a whole environment together and then people can come and interact with it versus you having to be there in that suit, whatever that suit is that day and take pictures with people all the time, right? It gives you a little bit more flexibility to do other things, to take video, to take more pictures, to hang out with people, to go for a beer, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's also going to change what Con Crunch means when we make that shift as well. But I think like everybody, I've got more things to do than days left before the con. So prioritizing, putting deadlines, lists. Build yourself a list, right? Pin it on your wall. Look at it every day. That will make sure that, it'll stress you out, but it'll force you to have to get through those things, right? Visual reminders are always very good.
100%. You mentioned deadlines, and that brings up the next point. When you're planning your cosplays, are you planning them just to have them, or are you planning them for an event, a fan expo, a Toronto Comic-Con, a London Comic-Con?
Both.
Okay.
But like JS had mentioned, I literally just pre-recorded a PSA about this, going from like the concept to the cosplay. How do we get there? And the last stage of that is setting a deadline and tying it to an event, because that will not only give you the motivation to start it, it will give you the impetus to finish it. That's the key. It's like JS is saying, I got half a dozen cosplays that are started that are nowhere close to finished. And then I have another like 12 in my head that are just rolling around in there that I'm probably never going to start because I don't have a specific time, date, or plan for that. So there's going to be times where, you know, something will come along, like, I don't know, like Deadpool 2 comes out and I get 8 million messages going, holy shit, you look like Josh Brolin, you should do Cable. And I'm like, well, I guess I should probably do Cable. And then suddenly that gets jammed in there. Meanwhile, I've already got plans for the upcoming con for the different stuff I'm doing, but now that's new and trendy. So now I got to figure out a way to work that in. And that's one I couldn't just go buy. Like I had to like fabricate the pieces for it, like the foam arm and the shoulder piece and the fucking tubing and everything else. And yeah, so I mean, it wasn't just a like buy it now and I'm done. So yeah, it depends on the sort of the ebb and flow of how the event's going to work versus what the expectation is going to be for you going into it. I don't know about you, JS. It's kind of the way it happens for me, where I'll plan things specifically for the event, but then like happened with this event for me, like one of the costumes is not going to be done in time. So now I have to pivot and shift to something else. Do I try to shift to something new and get it in 11 days and hope it works? Or do I just grab something that I know is a crowd pleaser, that I know is going to go with our themes, that's easy to wear and that I can transport there? I don't know, man. Where are you on that, JS?
Yeah, I mean, especially again when I'm starting a new build, I'm not necessarily going to say I'm building this for Fan Expo, although in the past, Fan Expo's kind of always been that one con where everybody wants to launch their new cosplays, right? It's the big con, it's 4 days. If you're gonna have something new, everybody wants it to be for Fan Expo, and I get that. For me, saying I want it done by this con is more of a deadline for motivation, right?
Okay.
The flip side of that is the new cosplay that we're gonna, well, Rob has already started working on. I don't want to set a deadline for that because I want that done right. I don't want to say we're gonna launch or we're gonna it's gonna premiere at Fan Expo. No, because see, now I'm premiering my Mr. Freeze at Toronto Comic-Con. You're welcome.
Attaboy.
But it's not done.
Yeah.
Right? Like now it's not done. It's an incomplete cosplay, right? Yeah. So I'm doing it because I can't wait to do it. I don't want to do that with these other ones. I want these other ones to be ready to go, to be wicked. When we did the Predators, pandemic happened and we weren't able to go. So we had to wait a whole extra year before we could go. And then what did we do? Well, we added a bunch of lights, we added audio, we added a bunch of things that made these that much better. That's what I want these next one to be, right? These next ones are going to blow people's friggin' heads off. I mean, if you follow our podcast, I mean, you already know what these are. They're going to be ginormous. We're probably going to be close-ish in the range of 8.5 to 9 feet tall. Yeah. Those are costumes that they're going to take the time that they're going to take to get right. Yeah. For me, anyway, that's what I want to do. Are we at one point going to say, okay, we want them done by this time because we're almost there and we want that motivation to get finished? Yes. As we're starting this, no. Does that make sense?
No, it makes tons of sense.
Answer's kind of both, yes and no.
Yeah, no, it makes tons of sense. It was a couple weeks ago when you guys had, is it Avira cosplay?
Mm-hmm.
She was on, and you guys weren't even talking about it, but it honestly, I had to stop the episode because I had like a light bulb moment. I've been doing Fan Expo for the past 14 years now, and I have always had that deadline of I'm going to debut everything at Fan Expo. That is my day. of debuting. I'm going to show everything I do. And the problem with that now is when I get to this point, I'm going, okay, 4 new cosplays. They're coming out all on August 22nd. And I kind of tell everybody in my life, leave me alone, because I'm going to fail 5 times when I'm making these things. But I need to have this stuff done. And I'm kind of going, wait a minute. I've got social media and stuff now, because back in the day in 2009, Instagram wasn't a thing and social media wasn't a thing. So that was my only day to show off my cosplays. And now I'm kind of going, man, if I don't get this stuff done by Fan Expo, I don't think there's going to be too many people standing around going, I came all this way to see your Princess Kenny and it isn't done. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I had that moment, and I even looked over at some of the armor pieces I had built, and I'm like, man, if I walked in front of a judge and looked at this, they'd tear it apart because it's not done properly. It's half-assed because I want to hit a deadline I wanted it done by Anime North, which is mid-May. And I'm like, this is my first sewing piece. Like, I'm not going to get it done in that time. So I'm starting to think the way you are, where I'd have to have a deadline. But if it doesn't happen, I have other things now. It's not the end of the world. Don't throw the world out just to get a cosplay done, because it doesn't mean that much.
And I think, like Jeff was saying, the more cosplays you that library of cosplays, the bigger it gets, the easier it becomes to fall back on something else if need be, right? Even if you had planned that, okay, my 4 days are going to be these, all of a sudden shit happens. I can't do that. Well, that's okay. I've got 3 other DC cosplays that I can do, right? Or I've got 3 other villains, or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah, It sucks when you get heavily invested into a cosplay, and then due to circumstances, maybe you put it together for like a group, or maybe for a specific theme that you haven't done since. So you put all this blood, sweat, and tears, and love, and money and time into a cosplay, and you wear it once, and then you never wear it again because the circumstances don't line up or whatever. I've got a couple that are like that I haven't worn in so long, and that I've only worn like once or twice, that I love, but there just hasn't been an opportunity to do it again and get that kind of response again, or it's something that needs somebody else with it to make it work, kind of thing. So you don't need new costumes each con. You should be comfortable wearing them again. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point. I try to get like kind of like a balance between, right? Like, I don't want to debut 4 new costumes at Fan Expo because I'm not a fucking psychopath. I want to have it so that I got like, here's 2 that I've worn before, and here's a brand new one, and here's one that I maybe worn once that I've just toss away on a whatever day. Same with TCC. I was supposed to have 1 brand new cosplay and then 2 that I had done before that I hadn't worn in a while. I shouldn't say that. The Stormtrooper, I've never worn it before, but it's technically not my cosplay, so it's not like brand new, and people know what a Stormtrooper looks like. But you know what I mean? Like, I try to make it somewhat balanced so that I'm not just banging my head against the wall trying to do 3 new cosplays. Like, rewear your shit, guys. If you're like me and you've got 30 cosplays or 40 cosplays now, rewear your stuff. Don't just put it on once and then never put it on again.
Yeah, but we're not all like you, Jeff, right? We don't all have 30 cosplays.
No, I know. I mean? No, I get that.
And to Christina's point, if you're going to be wearing your costumes, for me, cosplaying comes from my passion for making props and costume, right? That's where it all connects for me. It's almost not even yes, don't get me wrong, guys. I love hanging out with you guys at the cons, and it's fantastic, but the actual building is what my hobby is the making of these things. So for sure, I want to have something new every year, right? Like, at least once a year, I want to have something new to show off that I made. That's kind of what I do. But like Rob is saying here, I can't put it on screen myself, but he says, that's what I've tried to do, is build up a couple easy ones I can swap out while we build. Yeah. That's been key for us, is having a couple of those cosplays that, like my Star Trek uniform, right? Like, that was, $160 or whatever it was, on some Chinese costume site. And now I have that extra cosplay I can swap in and out. That's super easy. That didn't cost me any time, right? And I can definitely see, obviously, the appeal, Jeff, of wanting to buy your cosplays, because it saves you all that time. But again, for me, we just do it the making,
and that's okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's allowed.
Yeah, no, you can cosplay any way you want, and you can do both together. Like if there is like
100%.
I like to build foam, but
Mhm.
man, if I go to, you know, I mentioned it I don't have it around me, but I mentioned I went to Crazy Bins last week, and they had a full Amazing Spider-Man Zentai suit there. And I was like,
any of those around here.
Dude, it's worth it.
I know.
You gotta drive.
There's one in Scarborough, apparently. It's the closest one.
But
we've got one here in London.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I found that, but then I'm also thinking, like, why would I spend I side story. I remember going to Fan Expo. I was in the Masquerade. I want to say it was 2010, and somebody did the Doctor, whichever one it was. I think it was Tennant at the time. And he's like, I made this whole suit from scratch. And I was like, that's amazing. I could buy it. Like, I just don't, if it's already made, if it's like a Punisher shirt or something, I'm not remaking that. I'm sorry. That's just so much work for something that I would rather just buy. I'd rather not spend my time.
Why would I spend $15 on it when I can spend $85 in time and material to make it? Listen,
exactly.
Don't.
Exactly. And there are some things like, you know, I would put an extra work into, you know, Dash Rendar and stuff where I built the armor and all that, but all the undersuit, man, that's all purchased. Like, I'm not that person, because if not, I will have to tell the world to take a hike, because I will be in here failing 5-6 times before I get it right.
No, agreed. Even their undersuits on the Predator, that's a Zentai suit. That's like that's a suit that they bought. Everything else on top of that is all made, but there's
same thing as my undersuit for Freeze. It's also just a vest and pants, right? Like, it's.
Hey, Rob,
any comment from anybody?
JS and J going crazy. He has gone crazy. So I'd like to point out.
It's when they go, here's some new stuff we need you to build.
Yeah, he deals with JS a lot more than he deals with Jeff. I want to make sure that we're clear on this. Like, they're best friends. They see each other all the time. They make shit. They build shit. I see Rob 4 times a year. So it's not like he doesn't get a lot from me. He's the crazy one. See, he knows. He gets it. Yeah. I'm the crazy one. Yeah.
So going sort of shooting off that, when it comes to conventions and it comes to time, I want to try and hit every single con in the area, because that means you can get your name out there, you can see your friends, etc. We all have lives, we all have social time, we all have so many days off we can take off from work. What is the requirement of a con, or what do you need? Like, what makes you want to go to a con? Jeff.
Crickets.
What has been the appeal of certain cons? Like, we know you guys attend London, and you've attended. We know Fan Expo's the granddaddy of them all, but what about smaller cons? Like, what makes you go, okay, I want to go to this one?
It's changed over the years. Initially, it was more what you were talking about, is wanting to network, wanting to be recognized, wanting to hit as many different ones as I can, just to kind of get my name out there. And now I'm old, and I don't much care about that anymore. And I've been in the game now for almost 10 years. So, like, most of the people in the Southwestern Ontario region sort of know me. I've done a fairly decent job of doing the networking side of things. So now there has to be some X factor that's the draw. So getting to do Toronto and Fan Expo with these guys has made that experience so much more than it was before. And London, any con that I've gotten to do as a member of the Geeks Co, where we get to do the booth and we get to do the live podcasting and all that stuff and the interviews, that's something that just takes the con to a whole other level, as opposed to, like, I've told people before, I would love to go to New York Comic Con. I think that would be a hoot. But at the same time, if it came down to doing New York or doing something with the guys, I would rather go and do something with them than go to New York. There has to be some level of personal connection. I do a really cool little con called CK Expo in Chatham, Kent. It's coming up at the end of April. It's a 10th anniversary this year. It's the first 2-day con. They have me host the cosplay contest. They've done that for the past 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it's been. And now they're asking me to do some interviews to some of the key guests. So I don't need those two things to be involved in that con, because I love that con so much and it's close to where I'm at. but that still helps to make the con feel special and feel like I'm not just a person showing up. I'm participating. I'm helping the con be what the con is, and it's a popular little con. So I think I need those connections now. I don't think it's enough for me to just show up because it exists.
Hmm.
I did that when I first started, and I don't have the energy or the will to do that anymore. There has to be something that's driving me to go. JS, where are you on that?
You know, around these parts, there aren't a ton of cons to begin with. I mean, Toronto Comic Con and Fan Expo are the closest things to cons for us, and that's still an hour away, right? And even the smaller cons like the Awesome Toy Shows and the Vaughn cons and all those little other ones are still out in like the Mississauga, Vaughan, you know, Hamilton-ish area. So we've done some of those little cons and they're fantastic, but I think, like Jeff says, you know, we're not getting any younger, and when we do these con weekends, I mean, we're going there for the full weekend with a booth, a whole crew. We're trying to film content. We're dancing monkeys. We're building new costumes. We're tearing down. And we're coming back home and we've lost our whole weekend. We haven't done any grocery. We haven't done any laundry. We haven't done any cleaning. So we got to do all that during the week when we're working full time. Like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's when we go to cons as the Geeks and Co, it takes so much of our lives that going to other con just to go to the con is kind of less appealing now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, and they are all the same. That's the other thing too, right? Is they've all become these giant flea markets. And that's where I love cons like, again, London Comic Con.
Yeah.
London Comic Con seems to really pick and choose the vendors that they're going to have so that not only are they don't have the same, 17 vendors selling the same thing, but that they're also very unique vendors. You're going to see vendors in London Comic Con that you don't see anywhere else. So those are the cons that are fun cons. But yeah, being able to do what we do and the interviews and the live podcasts from the shows and the booth, I mean, yeah, it makes it a very, very, very different experience than as the con goer. Just the time factor, right? Mm-hmm. When you have a booth at a con and you're there as an exhibitor, you're there from before opening till after closing, right? If you're going as a con goer, you're in and out. You're going for beers. You're leaving early. You're showing up late.
I'm still doing that even with the booth. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
There you go, sure. Right? So it makes it for a very different experience. And as much as I want to do more of those little cons, I don't know. It's like a traveling circus, right? It's a lot of baggage that we're bringing with us every time. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe one day we stop doing big booths at every con and we only do the big cons. And then for smaller cons, we just go as media and we just dress up and, do our live podcast from the con floor. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly something that we've been talking about doing, specifically like with Niagara, for example, which hasn't seemed to have panned out, but
no, but even if there was an opportunity, because we early on when we first started getting the booths, we talked about maybe trying to go to Montreal, or we talked about maybe trying to go to Ottawa, and then when we kind of started to break down the logistics, we were like, God, that would be so expensive trying to lug all that stuff there. But if there was an opportunity to do a 1 day or a 2 day at Ottawa, Montreal with a media pass and just go and shoot content and not have to drag the booth and not have to be the dancing monkeys,
that would make more sense.
Go on our time there specifically to generate content, to talk to people, to maybe get an interview or two in or whatever. That I could absolutely do. Come to Montreal, please. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard nothing but good things about Montreal Comic Con. Everybody that I know that goes absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
So I would be down for that. I don't think I'd be down for doing all 3 days and hauling the booth there, but even doing a day with a media pass and getting an opportunity to do that. I don't know if Montreal on a day would really make a lot of sense, but you know what I'm trying to say? Getting an opportunity to do that, I think that would be more what would be appealing to me. But even then, man, like it would still be the expense. It would still be the time. You're still paying hotel. You're still paying train or bus or car or gas or however you're going to get there. It's still not going to be nothing. It's still going to be an endeavor. It's just going to be a much smaller endeavor as far as what we're going to be expected to bring and do and haul and set up and break down and all that jazz. fact that we could just come and go as we please, especially with the media passes, would make it more appealing 100%.
But the cons have to be in for that, right? If the con's not willing to give us media passes, I mean, it's not, that doesn't stop us from going. They don't tend to like people walking around with microphones and cameras and such if you don't have a media pass. I mean, we the first year we did this, we didn't have media passes and we got basically screamed at, and I mean, Jeff screamed back, but you know, like they don't like people. Yeah, they don't like people walking around filming and doing stuff like that if you don't have media passes. And I get it, right? It's their convention. They want to control what's going on, and that's completely fine. But I'd be weary about going to like Montreal or Ottawa or somewhere like that and then get kicked out after an hour because, you know, you don't have a media pass and they don't want you to film, right? And it's like, well, so yeah.
I just want to see the road trip footage of you guys driving there.
Listen, if we do something like that, for sure, I think we're going to film like a vlog style video. Of like the weekend so we can see like the road trip and the hotel and, you know, everything. Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Agreed.
Who's getting thrown out of the car first?
Oh, we know who's getting thrown out of the car first. We're well aware of who's getting thrown out of the car first. This guy.
That guy.
Yeah, there's no question who's going to be the most obnoxious, the quickest, as far as that goes. But
where's Jeff? In the trunk.
Does not have. Yeah, exactly.
Tied to the roof.
So for you, Michael, is the volunteering your sort of in for feeling like you're a more active participant as opposed to what we do with the media and the booth?
Yeah, because I've been doing Fan Expo since 2009, I always use the analogy of the roller coaster. Like that was me going on the biggest roller coaster and then going to every other con and going, it's kind of half of what Expo was, even back then. So I ended up going to Niagara and Hamilton and I was like, well, this is fun, but I'm doing a 3-day con and I'm kind of walked through it in about 6 hours. Now what do I do? And at that point, I didn't know any cosplayers. I wasn't cosplaying. I was just kind of attending. So I ended up just volunteering one day and ended up working with the celebrities and then became friends with everybody who also is part of that group. And that's my getting into Hamilton and Niagara and going, well, I'm attending these cons. I would love to cosplay, but I'm kind of working. Plus I get the benefit of hanging out with some really cool celebrities from time to time. But yeah, like when it comes to going to the cons, I run into the problem that I think a lot of people run into of, you know, it's great that JS, you have a significant other that is a part of it. So you kind of go as a couple. My wife did a whole bunch of cons before she met me. And she's like, dude, I'm so done with these things. I don't even want to attend. So I'm going solo every time. So I feel bad every other weekend going, all right, I'm going to Toronto for this weekend. I'm going to Toronto next week. I'm going here next weekend. And she's like, can we spend some time together? So I can definitely see how that becomes an issue for some people because there's only so many days in a year. And especially when it comes to summer season, that's our season, but that's also let's go do things season.
Yeah, it's everything else season, right? Yeah. Like her dad is from out of town. Well, not from out of town, but is out of town. My parents are out of town. The whole family's out of town, right? Like anytime we want to do something, we're leaving town. So there's only so many weekends in the summer. That's a very good point, right? Like, so we have to at one point limit ourselves as what we can do. The other thing too is a lot of these smaller cons tend to group their cons close weekends to the big cons. Like there's always like a bunch of other cons around Fan Expo, and it's like I'm putting so much effort into Fan Expo. I don't have any energy to be doing 3 or 4 con weekends in a row, right? Like that's just not happening. So yeah.
Agreed.
So Jennifer is asking, by the way, producer Jen saying someone has to sponsor the Geeks Co to go to Montreal Comic Con. I agree. Help us out, guys. That'd be fantastic.
Geeks Co sponsored by Blue Chew. So we're in crunch time. We got a couple minutes left. We're in crunch time. How do you guys handle crunch time? Not, I know, Jeff, you have currently dealing with some issues with some costumes not being able to make. JS, you had some stuff, you were kind of figuring out some Mr. Freeze stuff. you get to that point where you're like, I don't know if I can make it. How do you deal with it? Do you push everyone away? Do you kind of just take it as it comes? How do you deal with the hurdles?
Just cry in the shower. That's
with the makeup.
Yeah. I saw a really good meme the other day. It was the boomer generation saying shove your feelings down, and the Gen Z's, or so the millennials saying like talk about your feelings, and the Gen Z, the Zoomers saying I'm in therapy for my feelings, and the Gen Xers like me saying you guys have feelings. Like it's there is no. I feel like at this stage in my cosplay career, in my life, it's a role. Was I bitterly upset that I couldn't put that costume together in time for this, especially since I'd had quite a few people message me excited to see it, and I had reached out to somebody to team up with me, like a Hellboy cosplayer, so we could do the con together. Yeah, man, all that's disappointing, but what am I gonna? I'm just gonna sit here and cry over that spilled milk. It's done is done. You pivot, you shift, you make arrangements. If we didn't have the booth, it might be a little bit different, might be affecting me a little bit different, but I know I've got to be at the booth. And I know on Saturday, I'm going to be with two guys that are going to be getting the lion's share of the attention, but that can't talk. So I know I'm going to be on the microphone the whole time. I'm going to be managing lines. I'm going to be managing people. I'm going to be managing them. I already know all that's going to happen.
Especially on
Saturday in particular, which that's what I mean. Like you've got to make sure that you're going to be able to do these kinds of things to help out at the booth. If I didn't have that, it might be a different experience. But the having the booth and having these guys with me has made the crunch a lot different than maybe what it used to be back in the day when I was just going of my own accord just to go and fluff around in the environment. So I don't know about you, JS. That's kind of where it's affected me.
Yeah, I don't deal with the crunch very well. I usually end up spending most of my any free minutes that I have. Basically, I'm spending those minutes, in the prop shop, working on whatever it is I'm working on. And this is, and I'm not gonna lie, like this one here, building freeze is one of the reasons why I don't want to put a deadline on my next one. I don't want to be in that mode anymore. There's enough going on, a week before the con, having to worry about finishing this new costume when I still have to fix all the other ones, because you guys know, right? You wear a costume once and then you got to fix a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I spend too much time just, from I'm done dinner and then I'm downstairs and I come up and it's like 1 a.m. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get to bed. I'm working tomorrow, so yeah, I do too much of that in crunch time. So the crunch I need to get better at starting my cosplays earlier, I think is what it is. I need to start my cosplays earlier or stop putting these crazy deadlines of I'm going to build a new cosplay in like 7 weeks, because I've done this over and over again now, and it's too much.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. That's the key. I need to stop taking on last minute cosplay builds. That's what I need to stop doing.
Yeah, I've seen some foam cosplayers that are just like, oh, I made this in 3 weeks. And I'm like, it's a full Warhammer. Like, how the hell did you do that in 3 weeks? And I'm like, you didn't do anything else. Like, there's no way you could have been like, I came home from work and did this. Like, you didn't sleep, you didn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I think everyone handles it very differently. And I agree. I think I'm getting better with handling the stress. I think realizing that if things don't get done, it's not the end of the world. When there was a point where I was like, yeah, everything is the end of the world. And then it's like, no, wait, I actually kind of want to spend time with my wife every once in a while because, she doesn't hate me. But yeah, it's definitely something I've seen a lot of people deal with in different ways. I think as long as you deal with it healthy and it doesn't impact the rest of your life, because folks, it's cosplay and it's great and we all love it, but
just cosplay, bro.
There's no reason to impact finances. There's no reason to impact time with family and friends, because in the end, those are what matter more than anything. There's no reason to go in debt for a cosplay. There's no reason to try and spend, 7 weeks running through a Mr. Freeze cosplay and making yourself sick over it. But it'll be an amazing cosplay when it's done.
Sure friggin' hope so.
It will. It will. From what we've seen already, it looks amazing.
It'll be fantastic.
It will. Folks, we are past the 1 hour mark. It has been great talking to you guys tonight about the DC universe and what's going to be happening with that, con crunching and everything else. I don't want to take up too much more of your time because, like I said, we are 4 days away, and I know some people have to get some sleep, and also people have to get ready for booths and stuff. Where can the folks find you on Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Toronto Comic Con?
Booth CM53, far right-hand corner. When you come up the escalators and you turn around and you face the con, far right-hand corner, right diagonal to the Doctor Who Society. My understanding was the 501st was going to be right there, but I hear they've actually moved. So the people that I was talking to don't quite know where the 501st is going to be, but that's besides the point. That being said, you should be able to spot us walking through the con at some point during the weekend. That's right. We're going to be doing live podcasts every day. Couple hours before the end of the day, every day. So 5-ish on Friday and Saturday and 3-ish on Sunday. We're going to be doing our live podcast from the con, potentially talk to some people, talk to some vendors, recap our days. We have meetups every day, guys. If you didn't know, we do meetups at the cons every day. We're not going to have an official photographer, although we did confirm that Jamie is spending the weekend with us at Toronto Comic Con. So that is freeing up Jen to be able to help with taking some pictures. But we won't be doing like we do every year, where every picture taken at the booth is going to be posted on the website. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But we're going to, at the very least, try to get the meetup pictures up on Facebook for everybody to share. So yeah, we're there Thursday night setting up. And while Jeff is going to be handling the podcast on his own, what is it? Well, I guess it's a pre-Comic-Con show, right?
Yeah, it's a pre-Comic-Con show. It's probably going to be pretty short and sweet, guys. It's not going to be like an hour and a half or whatever. I think I'm just actually going to do it solo because I'm going to be bringing them in while they're doing it. So I want to talk to you guys about past experiences at Toronto Comic-Con, what you're hoping to get from this particular Toronto Comic-Con. What would you like to see at future Toronto Comic-Cons? How can they change it? How can they make it better? That kind of thing. We'll bring the guys in. The guys will show off the booth and show us what we can expect from this one and the Geeks & Co booth. And then we'll probably just sign off because Crazy Mike and I will be leaving London about 5 in the morning the next day. So we'll have to be up bright and early to get to Toronto on time and hopefully get checked into our room, but we'll see what happens. And then, yeah, get to the booth and start entertaining you folks. Dance, monkey, dance.
They let us check in early last year. If I remember correctly, like when we got there first thing Friday morning, we went to the hotel to see if we could check in, and they let us in right away. So
yeah, they did the same for us. I just don't want to rely on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm
No, that's
hoping that'll
fair.
be the case, but if they don't have a room ready for us, they don't have a room ready for us. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, Thursday at 7, guys, we will be going live. And then yeah, we're gonna talk. I want to talk to you. I want to get your opinions on Toronto Comic Con and what your hopes and dreams and wishes are going to be. So stay tuned for that.
One final thing, guys, if you want to help support what we do at these conventions and support the Geeks & Company in general, we've got a merch drop happening on the Geeks & Company store. I'm hoping tomorrow. We've got some Geeks & Co., the square logo, as well as the new university logo in both t-shirts and hoodies that are dropping on the site. There's going to be limited quantities. So whatever is posted there is all that there is. So if you want to save on shipping and pick up a Comic-Con and you want to help support us, go pick up yourself a t-shirt on our website. Go check out our Instagram. Click the link in the header. I'll bring you right to our store. geeksandcompany.ca.
Sweet.
We got a whole bunch. We got 4 days of Geeks & Co. coming up. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, folks. We've got 4 days of Geeks & Co. I will be there on Sunday. I will be stopping by the Geeks & Co. booth as always. I will be rocking Weird Al Yankovic, White and Nerdy. I might just have to bring a portable speaker in my back pocket and be playing that song on repeat throughout the entire con, because why not annoy the daylights out of everybody while I'm there?
You don't have to. So our booth and location has changed, Michael. We're going to be on the 1/3 level in the basement.
Fair enough. I get it.
Oh, guys, just for the people that may not know,
yes,
the
I know where you're going.
Cosplay Photo Park has changed this year.
Yep.
It's not going to be on the lower level where the masquerade usually happens. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be in that room, but on the same level as the theater. So it's not when you come in off the street. It's one lower level. So keep an eye out for that, because that's where all the meetups are going to happen. All the meetups, not just ours.
My hope is they're going to turn that entire level into Cosplay Central. I know based off everything last year, there were some issues, but I think if we can have an entire floor of just all cosplay, I think that would be kind of cool as long as they advertise it properly. Expo.
I think personally the issue with that is the normies won't go down there, right? If the normies see your booth and they see the cosplays and they see the 501st and they see the Doctor Who Society and they see all the people, they'll want to interact with them. But if they see cosplay on the map, they're not going to go down there to check it out. Like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the issue with separating it. The other thing is it has to be advertised. If people don't know that it's there, nobody will even go. So, yeah. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, you know how I feel about it. You both know how I feel about that.
I do. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. As I said, we will have 4 days of Geeks Co talking all about Comic-Con and Toronto Comic-Con. And next week, Monday,
Toronto Comic-Con.
Monday, we will be back here with Monday Night Nerd, and I'm going to be talking about my Sunday and what it was like at Toronto Comic-Con. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I will see you all next week. Love ya. Talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.